Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today we'll be doing a box office preview as we have the official estimates for this coming weekend, with Shang-Chi expected to come out on top even after being out in theaters for now going into its fourth week. So it should be interesting to see exactly how much money it makes this weekend, how much of a drop-off we see in this next week of release, and also, can Dear Evan Hansen, of all films, be the film to finally dethrone this movie up before, of course, the release of Let There Be Carnage, which is expected to come out next Friday, which I think most people, even any skeptics of that film, which I would include myself as far as, financial success of that film being a possibility, is going to easily take the number one spot next weekend. But before going any further, please make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button. If you're watching on Odyssey, also make sure you subscribe to the channel with that bell notification turned on. That way you know every time a new video or live stream goes live on the channel. So we've got these official estimates coming in, and Shang-Chi expected to come out on top, making another $13.8 million, putting its estimated domestic total at $197.4 million, meaning that this film will easily pass $200 million by the end of its theatrical run. That is a guarantee now at this point. Basically, everything would have to completely shut down for that to not happen at this point in time. Still out at almost 4,000 screens. And so therefore, they, of course, at Disney, they have a lot of confidence in this film continuing to do pretty well in the domestic marketplace as such. Still not doing a whole lot internationally in comparison, but when you're making over $200 million in the domestic marketplace, that is going to be able to make up for anything that you don't make in international. Dear Evan Hansen is going to be the newest film to come out this weekend. I talked a little bit about this film yesterday, and it's expected to make around $9.6 million. Obviously, the range is a little bit higher than that, but this is always going to be the average of that range. And so whether it's Shang-Chi's numbers or Dear Evan Hansen's numbers, right, any of these numbers that we see, these are all the averages of what is expected to be made by these films. As you can see, the range for Shang-Chi's fourth weekend is $12 to $15 million. So anywhere between that is what they expect. So the average would be around 13.8. And for Dear Evan Hansen, they expect the film to make between $8 and $13 million opening weekend, with its entire domestic range being $20 to $40 million. And so, yeah, this is not a very good sign for Dear Evan Hansen, even though it is a lower budget film in comparison to many others, to make $20 to $40 million domestically and likely not going to make much internationally because of it being a musical type movie, which, again, American musical, not really going to play as well in foreign markets as we've seen historically happen. And I think the one other film that we can really look to this year, especially to kind of showcase that, would be the film In the Heights, which even with a day and date release on HBO Max, still was not performing nearly as poorly as this film seems to be ready to do. And obviously there's going to be a lot of reasons for that, especially since it's being a dramatic musical. So it is, again, a musical that is not meant to make people laugh and and entertain in the same way that some musicals are. It's meant to be more so very serious and dramatic, which is only going to bring out really a certain type of person. I myself actually love the music for Dear Evan Hansen. I remember when the show came out back in 2016 on Broadway, and I was not actually able to see the show on Broadway with the original cast. It would have been really cool to see that. However, I did find the soundtrack, and I've just fallen in love with the soundtrack because Pasek and Paul, who are the ones who wrote it, they also are the ones that wrote scores to films like, for instance, The Greatest Showman, which I also really liked as far as the music is concerned. They also did La La Land, which was not very good, so they're mostly hits, but they have some misses here and there as well. But Dear Evan Hansen expected to come out, again, $8 to $13 million. So as you can see, is it theoretically possible that Dear Evan Hansen overperforms and does so much better than what anyone expected and gets first place? It's possible, sure. Is it likely? Not as much. Again, just based on these averages, 13.8 million to 9.6. All right, that would have to be a huge underperformance from Shang-Chi and a huge overperformance from Dear Evan Hansen in order for that to actually occur. And based on the fact that this is going to be a 36% drop in its fourth weekend for Shang-Chi, and we've seen consistently around 30 to 40% drops in the weeks-to-week end totals for Shang-Chi's domestic numbers, it seems very unlikely that that trend is going to change anytime soon, up until next weekend, of course, when we have, again, Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage coming out, which is going to be the number one film in the box office, and also is going to be really the first challenge for Shang-Chi. So it'll be interesting, I think, to see what the drop-off number is going to be for Shang-Chi with that film coming out next weekend, because I imagine that instead of seeing these 30s or 40s, we'll probably see something around the 50 to 60 mark, just because so many more people are going to be rather seeing the new film, Venom 2, than going to see Shang-Chi. It's just my own guess on that. However, if you look to the fact that it's still got another week, right, of weekday numbers to get about $1 million or so every single day to be able to make some money, and it's still probably going to make north of $5 million or so next weekend, this movie will easily be able to cross $200 million domestically, and will be ever so closer either by the end of this weekend or next weekend. I imagine this film will be at that break-even number, which again, it's not the best thing in the world, because when you talk about Marvel films, you want to talk about massive profits, and this is going to be one of the lowest grossing, not just total box office films in the MCU's history, but also as far as net gain, net profit, will also be one of the lowest grossing there as well. So just as a reminder for some of the films that we have, so Dear Evan Hansen coming out, $28 million budget. It has to make $70 million to break even. So this is, again, a new category I've added to my box office tracking. So that is the break even number for Dear Evan Hansen. And the fact that it's only expected to make at most $40 million domestically, again, unless it makes $30 million internationally, which again you would think might be possible, but if you're only making $40 million domestically for an American drama musical, you can see why I have some doubts about them being able to do anything really in the international marketplace. All the while, you have films like Shang-Chi, which needs to make $375 million in order for it to break even. Right now, as of the last time I updated the box office numbers, it was at $320 million worldwide. That number, of course, has updated as this film has been out for the last few days as well. So let's see, currently is at $325 million worldwide. And so that's the reason why I expect that this film probably will be probably close to $350 million, if not more than that, by the end of this weekend, which is also why I think either by the end of this weekend, if it performs really well in other places, and at the very least by the end of the next weekend, is likely when we're going to see $375 million, and again, it making its money back and potentially also making some profits as well. It's looking like the way it's trending, though, probably won't get near the $84 million max number, probably will get a little bit closer to, I would say, a little bit more than the lowest number on the scale, right? So that would be, minus $4 million. I think it's going to get to the break-even number and probably be in the, $10 to $15 million range based on the way that things are tracking. Of course, I'll have a better idea of that once we get this next fourth weekend's numbers in, because it'll kind of tell us exactly how this film is tracking, not just domestically, but also internationally. And that is, of course, going to be huge when it loses really its entire grip on the entire marketplace when Venom 2 comes out, because also October really is going to be kind of the death of any additional profits for this movie, because you have Venom coming out not long after that. In fact, the next weekend, I believe, you have No Time to Die, or No Time to Make Money, as I like to say, because it needs to make $750 million. No Time to Die, the next James Bond film, needs to make in order for it to break even. And then really a week or two after that, in fact, it's 2 weeks after that, you then have Dune coming out. And when it comes to Dune and when it comes to No Time to Die, these are both films that are getting early releases in international marketplaces to try and offset, I guess, some of the potential losses by trying to keep it as off of pirate sites, especially specifically for Dune, which will be on HBO Max October 22nd as well. And it seems to be working a little bit for Dune, trying to build up some word of mouth, again, trying to get some success in the international marketplace. So it seems to be working to some extent. And we'll, of course, be following those numbers, too, as they come out. But as of this weekend is concerned, yes, Dear Evan Hansen, new movie coming out. But as I said, unless you are a musical theater fan, probably will not be a film really for you, and therefore probably won't even interest you. I think people would be more apt to, if they want to go see a movie and they haven't seen one, see films like Free Guy, which is still making $4 million this weekend. Again, I think this is a film that no one really expected to do as well as it's doing, especially with its hold. It's still out at 3,000 screens after having been out in theaters for over a month. Even films like Candyman still doing pretty well, right? This is in the profitable territory now. Cry Macho, right? Still not doing all that well. However, 44% drop, not terrible. But when its first opening weekend was only around $5-6 million, obviously that's why that's still not very good. Jungle Cruise still making some money, though it's still a financial failure on all accounts. And there's, again, tons of other films I think people would rather go see than Dear Evan Hansen. And they'd probably be like, you know what, I can wait for that film to come out because I've always wanted to see the musical, and so I can just wait for it to be free on one of the various streaming platforms that I already own. And I would not be surprised if that's the logic that a lot of people has. But what are your thoughts about this? Do you think that Dear Evan Hansen could do the impossible, could do more, punch above its weight? I doubt it. Again, as I always like to say, I have my doubts about it. And also for Shang-Chi, do you think it's going to reach $200 million this weekend? Do you think that maybe it'll actually get higher than this projected number? Because obviously this is the average, so it could perform, technically it could perform better. But do you think it's going to hit it this weekend, or do you think it's going to hit it next weekend? Also, let me know your thoughts. Do you think that Shang-Chi is going to reach the point of break even either this or next weekend? Again, I'm leaning more towards next weekend based off of the numbers that we have right now and what the projected numbers are going to be. But hey, we will have to wait and see, of course, for those international numbers to come in on Sunday. But let me know your thoughts about that as well in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, line up that fire button if you're watching on Odyssey. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my September Locals, Patreon, and Subscribe Star members. First with my Locals members, Cats App, D Sharp, It's a Modern Major General Story, Bifford de Hobbit, and Robert Barnes. I want to give a shout out to, especially to Laura, who is now a double supporter on Locals and on Patreon. So thank you for that. And to all of my Locals members. A shout out also to my Patreon members, Andrew Hoyle, animation commentator Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Father Christopher Miller, Hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Hannibal Grimm, Harold Francis, Inflamed Wood, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Joe Horn, Jonathan Garney, Gomer Kyle 79, Thor the Modern Major General Story once again, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Rosetta Ullen, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., the Empress of the Universe. And a shout out also to my Subscribe Star members, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / the new number 2, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and ZK Man. Thank you all very much for supporting the channel. And I want to give a huge shout out to new members, one-time supporters over on Locals, Kara Tharp, K Tharp 56, and Brett D 90. Thank you again for being a one-time supporter over on Locals, and also to my newest Patreon member, Stan Gunovic. And hopefully I pronounced that correctly, but thank you for being my newest members. It really does mean a lot. And if you want to have your name shouted out at the end of every single video or live stream on the main channel, please check out the links in the description below, specifically that top link, which will bring you to all of the links to my various social media pages and also places of support as well. And remember that if you join at the Army of Asgard level, you also get access to giveaways of 4K titles. Right now, I have a live giveaway of Snatch on 4K Steelbook. I've also got ones for Dread, Wrath of Man Blu-ray. I've also got A Quiet Place Part 2 on 4K. I've got Top Gun on 4K, Sicario on 4K, tons of films and more to come, especially as more films are getting released for those giveaways. At the Keeper of the Bifrost level, you get all of that, plus you get access to an exclusive podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. Not only do you get to listen to the podcast, you also get to ask questions that we answer as much as we can and as fully as we can in a much more, I guess you could say, uncensored way, but again, a much more free-flowing way for our members over there at the Keeper of the Bifrost level and above. And if you join the Chosen of Valhalla level, you get access to all of those things, plus in your first month, you get a free t-shirt, your choice, and I send it to you no matter where you are in the world. And also, you get to once a month be featured on the channel in the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where we talk about movie, news, and pretty much anything that you want to talk about. So if that all sounds like fun to you, check out those links below. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.